Hey everyone, and welcome to Group Up Here, Hungover Media's premium esports and Overwatch League show. Group up with me. This week we are talking about Overwatch League as we have been since it's Stage 2, and we're coming up on the Stage 2 playoffs and finals. Who's going to win that money? My name's Yvonne, aka Comrade Boyar, over there.
I'm Julien. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to keep this short and sweet, just 30 minutes of your time, so we're going to get in straight to the news. There was a patch drop today, Tuesday, when we're recording this, and a couple things have happened. So we have the newest hero is out. Julien's been playing her a little bit, so he'll talk about how she feels in the real world, not the PTR, and I'll talk about Sombra. So Sombra has a small nerf that's come to her. Everybody was really complaining, Julien, right, about how Sombra's hack was working, especially at the upper echelons.
Which is all that matters.
Yeah, basically. So it's like all of the super competitive highest SR people were like, Sombra's hack is ridiculous. Now people at RSR weren't really complaining too much because, well, nobody plays Sombra effectively at RSR.
It's true. Very true.
But people were really upset with the fact that Tracer's recall, breaking line of sight, bubbles, shields, none of them really worked to stop Sombra's hack. So now they've kind of reworked how Sombra's hack functions. So if Sombra takes any damage while she's attempting the hack, there's a 2-second cooldown now, which stops her from just waiting for somebody to reload, hacking them, and doing everything that she wants to them. The other thing is that there's no longer that 0.1 seconds at the end of the hack, which you can't break the hack, basically. So the reason that this was such a problem was it was mechanically difficult to build a situation in which Sombra's hack could be effective but not broken by things like light posts and different things in the initial way that they constructed it. After hearing all the feedback of the players, they really worked hard to rework how it works. So the larger boxes, Tracer's Recall, Zarya's projectile barrier, all those things will break that hack. But small things like light posts or different little obstacles on the map shouldn't be able to stop that hack. So I think that's a welcome change for Sombra, whose hack seemed a little overpowered.
Yeah, it was. I mean, with the new update prior to this recent patch, it was really shutting down Pharah. It was, if she could get around to Pharah, once Pharah dropped to the ground, she would be extra afraid if they had the enemy team had a Sombra, because then Pharah might not even be able to get back up in the air at that point. And Genji as well, a prime target for Sombra now. But now it's just ever so slightly harder for her to hack people. I think it was a good change. It was a good update in general prior to this Prior to this update. The hack pack, I got hacked there also. That's why I couldn't. And because, Sombra's hack was she would generally only hack health packs and then get the majority of her hacking done with an EMP. But now she's obviously manually hacking people much more, which is, I think, how they intended the character to be played when they designed her.
Yeah, I think that's a welcome thing, and I do think it balances her hack out so it becomes a little bit more fair. I think that 2-second cooldown, although it seems like a very small thing, I think it'll be really impactful on how...
That's a long time when you're playing, when Sombra only has 200 HP, so she could get wrecked in that cooldown time.
For sure. So, the other thing is Brigitte.
Yes.
Brigitte.
Bridget. Hell if I know.
What does she feel like to play Julie?
She actually pronounces her name when you boot up the game. I think it's Brigitte. Whatever.
I've heard it too. I still don't remember how to say it.
I played one match with her. Unfortunately, that's all I could get played today before we started recording. Luckily, I did, though. As far as I can tell, she's not going to be. She is officially a support character,
Okay.
but as she's been described by many people who've been playing her on the PTR, she's actually more of a hybrid tank and support character. She has quite a bit more HP than most support characters in the game, and she also has armor and the ability to give out armor, which is her primary form of healing. Essentially, you're going to be replacing the HP that you lost with armor, or she can heal you a little bit. She doesn't do that much healing, and that's why I say she's definitely not going to be your primary healer. She's going to be great, I think, in maps like Lijiang Tower and control type maps like that, because you're generally fighting in an enclosed area, especially on Lijiang Tower, and that leads herself well, because she can hang around corners, and once people come in, she can use her shield dash to stun them, and then the whole team can jump on them. And I think that might be a primary strat that she might be using. Her shield doesn't really block much unless you're directly behind her, so she's not like Reinhardt's shield, but she can move very quickly when she's using a shield, so she can use it for herself. And the only problem with her in terms of doing damage is that she doesn't have much range. Her left click is like about the range of Reinhardt. I think a little less range than Reinhardt's hammer. So you just have to back up, and she won't be able to touch you if she's on her cooldown. And even her long range whip attack is just one hit. So I think people will primarily be saving that if, say, a Tracer gets away at half health. She can definitely do the damage long range. I think you want to save that in order to finish people off. I think from my one game, so I don't know. It's not like I know.
So do you think we'll see more? Could we see more like triple tank, triple support lineups? So if we're pushing on Horizon Lunar Colony, like a lot of Overwatch League teams have done a possible 4 tank 2 support comp when charging for point A and then switching it up for a point B. Could we see a little bit more of that when it's taking the points like Horizon Lunar Colony or Volskaya, just using the support to push through?
If one of your supports is Zenyatta, I think that might be a good idea, because I think unless your tanks can reliably do damage, so you would need a Roadhog, I would assume. Because Brigitte, whatever the hell her name is, does not do that much damage, I've noticed. She's a welcomed addition in a fight, in a team fight. She's not that good on her own, as far as I can tell. I was having trouble tracking down a Lucio, but then again, my whole team was
trouble tracking down Lucio,
which is stupid. But yeah, so I mean, again, I've played one game, so I've yet to find out. But I could see if you have like a Lucio, Brigitte, Zenyatta, or Moira, Brigitte, Zenyatta. I think that might be a good triple healer. God forbid. That's an interesting change to the meta to think about. But I think you would really want that extra damage from Zenyatta.
Cool.
If you're going to play triple healer.
I think that it's an interesting proposal. In those quad tank to healer lineups, we saw it be Moira and Lucio to push them to the point quickly and do that massive healing that Moira can do.
Right.
We might see different combinations of something like that, or like a triple tank with Brigitte and Moira or Lucio as your support healers as well, and then with the extra DPS, like you were saying, so that you can get some more damage. But I think that's pretty good analysis as far as we're going with Brigitte. We'll get some more stuff going in later. Did we talk about Hanzo?
We did not talk about Hanzo.
Mostly because nobody wants to talk about Hanzo.
No. Maybe we will once this PTR patch is live. But
what's this PTR patch, do you think?
Now, they're looking into changing his scatter arrow, which a lot of people, I guess, have complained about. I don't really follow. I try to stay away from all Hanzos, so... but as we get to the highlights of our player of the week, we may or may not see a Hanzo scatter or a kill on a Tracer. But I digress. They're trying to change it into a volley of arrows, so he'll get a rapid fire. Once he activates it, he'll get a rapid fire arrow shot mechanism sort of going on. I think that's going to be live on the PTR soon. I guess it's scheduled for April. And I'm not entirely sure what else they're changing. Oh, they're going to change. They're going to give him a dash, so like a dodge attack, not attack, but evade mechanism where he can dodge left and right. So he'll be much more mobile, and I think he'll be pretty much as mobile as Genji, which makes sense. They're brothers. So, but he'll just have a really cool arrow shooting thing also, I guess.
Sounds good in terms of seeing more people play Hanzo, which is exactly what we want. Yep.
Well, maybe
he'll
he's
be
good.
more viable.
Yeah, I hope he is more viable. I would like to see more characters played. So, I mean, why not? They spent years of their lives to make. Some developers spent years of their lives designing Hanzo. So someone's got to play him.
Somebody does, and unfortunately, it's always a guy who can't aim when it's playing on my team.
Goddamn Hanzo.
But some
Hanzo
people
memes.
did get to play Hanzo and in this week in Overwatch League, and it changed the standings of their team. So first we'll go into the overall standings of Overwatch League right here. So as you can see, New York Excelsior is still on top, and the top three teams are all Korean teams. So we've got New York Excelsior, London Spitfire, and Seoul Dynasty. Then following that there, we don't have any major changes, I don't think. There's still that flip-flopping between 4, 5, 6 in the overall standings. I think we'll be looking for how Valiant, Fusion, and Houston really vie for those 4th and 5th slots as they get ready for the overall playoffs for Overwatch League. But I think the things that we're keeping track of mostly have to deal with Stage 2 standings, and we'll leave these for later this week at the end of Stage 2 when we conclude. But we've got some Stage 2 standings coming up right here. And these are important.
These are the stats that you don't know about, everyone. This is a Hungover Gaming exclusive for you. Do you even know how you can search for Stage 2 standings? Well, you can't. You gotta go through the VODs, and you gotta write it down and do some math. That's how Yvonne did it, because he's doing some investigative journalism here. Let's go.
That is, and then I constructed this and put it up for you. I know it looks super professional, but it looks
pretty good. Man.
It's not an official Overwatch League Excel sheet.
It looks pretty good. I'm not. If you asked me to look at both, I wouldn't know the difference.
So the main things that we'll take a look at, the difference between the overall standings and the standings for Stage 2. We see LA Gladiators in the top 3. And really, there's a tie for second place in the overall standings, or in Stage 2 standings with wins and losses. Again, map differential will be important in this one because we have a very strange thing in that everybody's kind of got the main tiebreaker against each other. So London Spitfire, LA Gladiators, and Seoul Dynasty have all played each other. Spitfire beat Seoul Dynasty but lost to Gladiators. Seoul Dynasty beat the Gladiators but lost to Spitfire, and Gladiators beat Spitfire and lost to Dynasty. So everyone has, like, in the wheel of tiebreakers, they've all beaten each other. They've all lost to each other, basically. So there's no advantage really to be gained there versus individual teams. So map differential might come into a big difference when we talk about where we are. So they're both sitting at 6 and 2, and this week the Seoul Dynasty has a somewhat difficult matchup against the 9 and 10 seed, or 9 and 10th place teams, Houston Outlaws and Florida Mayhem. The LA Gladiators play a much higher group with Philly Fusion at 5 and Boston Uprising at 7. And the Spitfire all the way down there on the bottom, they're going to face the Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai Dragons. So to me, it seems like the London Spitfire has the easiest path to get into the playoffs. New York Excel is going to play Dallas, which, as Dallas have been playing recently, is pretty much
They're
a
a
guaranteed
garbage
win.
truck on fire, dude.
Yeah,
They're a mess.
They are a mess. Definitely a mess. And then NYXL will also be playing the LA Valiant, who have been on a kind of, they lose to good teams and beat the bad teams. That's where they stand right now. If you look at their week by week wins, I mean their overall ranking looks pretty good, 4-4, but they're beating the teams below them and losing to the teams above them. So if that pattern holds, LA Valiant should lose to New York Excel.
Okay. That is very exciting stuff, Yvonne. We will have to see what happens exactly by the end of this week.
Yeah. What are your predictions? So the top 3 teams will make it to the Stage 2 playoffs. So as that stands, it's NYXL, and then some combination of Spitfire, Gladiators, or Dynasty are most likely. But the Fusion has a chance of getting in. LA Valiant and Boston kind of do, but it's really extremely tiny, and like a lot of things have to happen. Basically, everybody in the world has to lose.
Yeah, I think it's going to be NYXL, obviously, top seed, and then we're going to have a match between Seoul and probably Valiant, honestly, I think. But
you think Valiant or Gladiators?
Yeah. Fair enough. I forget. I was looking. See, they got me again because they didn't give us the goddamn. Okay, no, I think it is gonna be Seoul versus Gladiators. Sorry, not Valiant. I don't think Seoul. I think Seoul really wants that money, so they're gonna be in there. And I think the Gladiators are not gonna lose their matches. I think they're gonna win their matches this week.
And what about the Spitfire?
Spitfire will, let's see, they're playing Shanghai, so they're going to win Shanghai. Oh, fair enough. They're playing pretty much the 2 worst teams in the 2 worst positions right now.
That's the thing. So
that being
Seoul
said,
plays 9 and 10. Spitfire play 11 and 12. And the Gladiators play 5 and 7. So the Gladiators have the most difficult path to get to the playoffs. But Houston has beaten really good teams in the past before, and Florida is doing pretty well of late. They're really understanding how this new meta is working, and they're doing some crazy cool things to make sure that they're winning.
I want Florida to win all their matches from now on. I think they're a really great team.
So, in my honest opinion, based on what it's going to be, I think it will be London and Seoul in 2 and 3. Even though I really want the Gladiators to make it in. Again, I want a Western team to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be great.
But I think just based on how the tiebreakers will be in the map differential, I expect London Spitfire to go on 2 wins, 8-0. Their map differential and win-loss record will be pretty difficult to match for anybody else. That being said, Gladiators have 2 very tough matches this week. They've beaten tougher opponents and lost to equal opponents, so we'll see.
Yes.
But I really think it's going to be an all-Korean playoffs. But I'm excited to be wrong.
Yes.
I'm really excited to be wrong.
Look, either way, we get to see some good Overwatch played, so I'm excited either way. And Pine may be playing. Who knows?
Yeah.
No. They'll never let him play again.
Of those 7 possible teams that are going in, a couple are going to be playing the team that caught your eye this week in a segment you like to call
Julian's Juicy Comp. Roll the intro.
That guy's awesome! Awesome! He's awesome!
this is a segment where I lay it down and tell you about an interesting comp that I found watching the games throughout the week. Today we're highlighting Florida Mayhem's first push on their map 4, which was Route 66, and they played an interesting comp, Vaughn. They had a Hanzo and a Widowmaker as their 2 DPS, and they had a Zenyatta and Diva and Winston combo with a Mercy as well on their for their healing and support situation. Now the interesting thing is that they were using obviously Hanzo's sonar arrow in order to tell where the team was, and they really used his mobility in order to get up to places where the enemy team, which was obviously very surprised to see this happen. So basically they kept Hanzo and Widow off the point, and they pushed it forward with the 2 tanks who were diving in onto I assume Logix or Tavik were shot calling, and they just had Winston and Diva dive onto the enemies to help finish off any body shots that were landed. So I think it was a really interesting comp, and it totally caught the Valiant off on surprise, and they pushed to the victory in that situation. Yeah. It's a really good game.
I think here Logix stayed on Widow for almost the entire part. Tavik will eventually switch off that Hanzo, as he probably has to. Yeah. But I think it was an excellent thing where the damage that you can rain down with these 2 snipers was just very difficult to match up with when you don't have that heavy shields that a lot of teams don't like to run, right? They're not running Orisa or Reinhardt. They're running a Winston for that dive bubble shield. Mm-hmm. And the Diva defensive matrix. But when you spread apart your snipers, you make sure that you're topping them up, damage boosting as you can. It's really a powerful combination when you have people that can actually hit their shots. We saw even like that classic sniper battle of Hanzo versus Widow, and Tavik took out Kariv, and
yeah, it was crazy.
Logix was running really a great Widowmaker on this map, so I was pretty impressed with this comp as well. So much so that you'll be surprised by something that I'm going to say.
Just say it. Just get it out.
I've got a player of the week that's from Florida Mayhem. My player of the week is Logix from the Florida Mayhem. Now, I probably could have picked Tavik as well, but you'll see that Logix did a lot this week, not just in terms of damage dealing, but in terms of game awareness and positioning himself. Here you see in the match against LA Valiant on Hanamura, he gets the stick onto agilities, making sure that he eliminates one of the highest damage dealing characters, Soldier 76, that Valiant are bringing onto the point. Now this is where the Valiant are collapsing the Mayhem. It's basically lost, and you'll see this game sense. Logix barely on the point. He was able to come back in, stabilize the point for a little bit, then stay on the point long enough that he has the ability to let the rest of the team who comes from the quicker spawn behind in Hanamura point B get back to the point, and the point stabilizes. LA Valiant isn't able to grab onto a point which honestly should have been taken right there. A lot of it due to the burst damage that Tracer's Pulse Bomb was able to do, so that was Logix running Tracer there. Here, another beautiful Logix play. You'll see in the kill feed, 2 people died to this stick. Boom, right there. He gets Verbo and Agilities. Again, that's the Lucille player, that's the Soldier. Those are 2 key components to any team, especially running some sort of dive combination or a poke combination. And he's able to save the point. Here, this is, if you look at what's going to happen here in this situation, the Mayhem are going to get run over. Here you see Manitin going down, Zebasai on the way down, and he's just, Logic plays without fear. He's going to run around, get as many targets as he can, deal as much damage as he can, and make sure that the point is going to be held as long as possible to delay for the Valiant getting onto there. You see, this is a contested point. You see everyone's going down. He's taking out healers left and right. He's playing without fear. Finally, he has to leave the point and go off the map in order to restabilize and push again with the rest of his team. But he does a lot to delay the point or take away the enemy team in that meanwhile, so that because he plays Tracer, he'll get back to the point faster than enemy respawns could happen. Here, he's, again, playing that sniper that we were talking about. He's playing Widow, and he has some amazing snipes here. He's counter-sniping against Kariv. Boom, headshot. He's doing a lot of things that I think everyone expected Logix to be able to do when he was coming into the league that we didn't necessarily see in Stage 1, and we're seeing a lot more in the second half of Stage 2, where Florida's picking up a few more wins. And I'm excited to see where this team goes.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see them play this week. I'm very excited.
Julien, do you have a player of the week this week?
Yes, I do. And surprisingly enough, it comes from my favorite team, the NYXL. Here we have Libero, who on the first map opened up against Seoul with an amazing nano-boosted blade. It was so amazing. He took out freaking half the team with just one blade. And of course, Seoul clearly knew. I don't think they knew actually at all exactly how much damage they were going to get hit with. Clearly, I think they must have known that he had the blade, but I don't think that they were ready for it to be nano boosted and for him to just come in exactly at that point. So I think they were caught off guard, and he knew exactly where to go. He knew exactly where everyone was going to be, and it was a truly amazing play. He actually had 3 really great blades in this one game, which was a great game. If you haven't seen this game, you need to go see it. This second blade, I think, was the best one. They were pushing in on basically overtime, and it was the second round, so it was a tied match, and he knew that Soldier was going to use his ult in order to counter this push, and he knew exactly where the Soldier sets up on that map, and he knew exactly where to go. So he chopped down the Lucio and then immediately went straight for the Soldier and stopped his ult right there. And then this third one, he actually ends up stopping a push, which was amazing. He was ready for the team to push in and knew exactly where everyone was going to be. I don't know. He was playing out of his mind in this map. It was crazy. And the final play I have here after this, we'll watch this. It was just him cleaning up a bunch of kills, essentially, and building up his ult in order to stop their final push. And really he shuts down Real Jaehong, I think, as soon as he turns over here. He's ready to use his ult. He was waiting around, when should he use his ult, and he takes out Toby, actually, never mind. It was one of the healers, I knew it. And then just cleans up, basically. And then he plays Hanzo, the other brother, of course, and he ends up getting a really sweet scatter shot on this Tracer on Munchkin, and really actually that contributed to them pushing the point and taking the next play. So I think that was all worthy highlights for my player of the week, Libero.
That was super exciting. I have to say, I wasn't able to watch this game in real time because I was watching the Q's game, but you were like, dude, you have to see this game. Look at this blade. So
I was literally yelling at my screen. It was so exciting.
when I was watching the VOD, I was like, what? I was yelling at my screen too. It was awesome. Thank you so much, Julien. That was an amazing player of the week. I really wanted to highlight Libero too, but I knew that your favorite NYXL, that would be the guys that you wanted to highlight. So that leads me into a question, because we've highlighted a couple DPS players this week. I highlighted a DPS player last week, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you've definitely highlighted Sabiobi before. So in this meta, we got to talk about my important question.
What is it?
My important question of the week is okay, take that again. My important question is, who are the top 5 tracers of the Overwatch League? As we've paid attention to Overwatch throughout Stage 2, these dive comps depend on having a very stable and just high game sense, really awesome tracer. Somebody that can bring in the kills, disrupt the enemy team, and also coordinate a dive with your team. So we saw people like Sabiolbi just rock out. Munchkin was on fire this week. Finally, somebody to pair with Fleta, an excellent projectile DPS and hit scan. We saw people like Dante come into their own. So, who do you think the top 5 tracer players of Overwatch League are?
I think I can name 3 of them. Basically, you named them, but I definitely think that that Logix is absolutely one of them. He may be on a team that is not doing so well in the standings, but he always cleans up his work and gets a bunch of kills and really led his team to victory last week. And I think he's going to come into his own, as you said, and really take charge of his team and lead them to victory in the future. I can't wait to see him play more. I definitely think that SBB Sabiobi is pretty much the best tracer. He is he's always on the New York XL team lineup, and they know they can't let him go. They can't substitute him out. He is an incredible DPS player, particularly on tracer. And I think I haven't really been following Seoul Dynasty that much, but I saw Munchkin play against NYXL, and he was definitely getting a lot of kills in the second 2 maps of that series. It was a really good match.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, Munchkin is doing really well. Logix is pretty amazing. Sabiolbi is doing great. I would say, if I was to add a couple more people, I really like Soon. As much as he might be super annoying and it seemed a little bit conceited with his very sneaky back caps and all that jazz. He does a lot, and in a few games this stage, it was Soon's play on Tracer that was able to shut down the main either support or DPS on the opposing team, and it was through Soon's play that LA Valiant got a lot of their wins. Now, Kariv moving over to DPS a lot instead of playing support also helped, but I think that was up there. Yeah. And I think that I really want to highlight Dante's play this stage. Again, a team that is in the lower rankings, but he's doing really, really well right now. SF Shock, the reason that they've been getting a little better recently is because the play of Dante and Baby Bay, and Dante on Tracer has been amazing. Now, the other thing to add to that is Dante knows that sitting behind him on the bench is Sinatra, who's an amazing Tracer player who's ready to get up there and take over that role. So maybe this might be a little quarterback competition here.
It's exciting.
But I think between Effect and Carpe, Effect is like it's so hard because he's a great DPS player on a team that lacks communication and cohesion. So it's hard to judge him all the time. He has gotten shut down before, I know, in a few, at least in a couple of the earlier matches in this stage when they had an opportunity, they had a team together, they could have played it well, and Effect getting shut down was one of the reasons that they weren't able to win the match. Carpe is another DPS player who does really well on Tracer, also stunning on Widowmaker, and I wanted to highlight him. But I think it goes without saying that one of the best teams in the league, the London Spitfire, their Tracer play is great, but I wouldn't say that I think of Prophet as one of the best Tracer players in the league, which is interesting to me. I think they play a wide variety of heroes. So Prophet's Tracer play is amazing, but I don't think of Tracer play when I think of London Spitfire, which is ironic because it's London, and Tracer is the British character. But it's also weird because in a competitive meta which requires great Tracer play, I don't really think of London Spitfire.
Neither do I. I think of a good Widowmaker in Birdring, and I guess they have a pretty good... Yeah, I think Prophet also plays Soldier 76 pretty well as well, I think. Who's playing... Or is Birdring playing Soldier? I can't remember.
I think I'm not positive.
I
I think
haven't watched much of
they
their games.
switch off a bit in terms of
Yeah.
that, and they also have an entire second lineup of DPS players who can come in, like Hureg.
That's true, yeah.
And who plays McCree a lot and things like that. So they do a lot of counter dive and dime themselves. So it's intriguing. So I think that if we had our top 5 pick, I think it'd be SBB number 1, Sabiolbi. Number 2, we might say who? Logix.
I think Logic's definitely. He's amazing.
Number 3, Soon.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Number
Throw him in there.
4, Munchkin.
Yep.
And
Definitely
number
got to get
5,
Munchkin
you
in
want to
there.
throw in Carpe, Dante, or Prophet.
I'll give it to Carpe. I think he's playing pretty well this stage, and definitely last stage he played pretty well as well.
Yeah, he was really critical on some of Philly's early matches when they were 4-0ing teams. I remember one of his pulse bombs on Tracer, so perfectly timed and placed. He got like 3 people with 1 pulse bomb on Route 66. It's an amazing play. So that's my important question of the week. We've ranked through all of our Tracers. It just so happened that we ended on Munchkin playing on Tracer. You'll notice that one team that I didn't have in that selection of available Tracer players is the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a good Tracer player.
I don't think so.
I think
they've got
had
Jake.
3 to 4 different DPS attempt to play Tracer, and I don't think any of them have been up to the level that it needs to be. Now, this is a very high bar to go with, and I had Dia on there, and Dia probably isn't, nearly close to the top level of Tracer players, but I think this is the one area that Houston really needs to improve their DPS play with. Get Linkser off of Tracer, let him play the characters that he needs to play, like a Widow, a Genji, something like that, a McCree even, and find somebody else to pair with him when you need to play that Tracer. I think Jake's Tracer isn't great right now. Jake is good on that soldier. He can wield the Bastion. He's amazing as Junkrat. We've seen that before. But I don't think Clockwork is cutting it as the Tracer player. So we'll see how that shapes up. But some of the teams that we've talked about in terms of the Tracer play, those are going to be our games of the week, really, to watch. I'm going to start off this week because my game is the first game, which comes out tonight at 7 p.m.
Oh, shit.
My game of the week is LA Gladiators versus Philly Fusion. Again, this is a critical game for Gladiators to win in order to get into the playoffs. But guess what? It's also critical for Philly to win. If Philly has any hope of getting into the Stage 2 playoffs, they have to win this game. This is also kind of a must-win for LA Gladiators based on the schedules of the other people who are close to getting into the playoffs. So I would say that this is going to be a really competitive game. We'll see a lot of very strong play. I'm really disappointed that Shadowburn has been absent from the lineup. I don't know if he'll come back tonight for the Gladiators or they'll still run with EQO. It's made me watching Philly Fusion, it's really blasé for me at this point. But yeah, that's my game of the week. Any interest from you, Julien?
I'm obviously going to watch it. But I'm if Shadowburn's in there, man, I'm in there. But otherwise, I'm excited to see if they put Carpe in as well. And EQO is he's a pretty sweet DPS, but I hope they put Shadowburn in as well.
What's your game of the week then?
My game of the week is going to be the Los Angeles Valiant versus NYXL on Saturday the 24th at 6 p.m. Mark it on the counter, boys, because I think this game is going to be the deciding factor of whether LA gets into the playoffs. I think they're going to beat Philly Fusion earlier in the week and on Friday at 9. So I think that if they can beat NYXL, which I don't want them to, but I mean, whatever. I guess NYXL's already in the playoffs essentially, so fuck it. Whatever. They'll play Pine. They'll throw in Pine all week, especially against Dallas. But I think if LA Valiant wants a chance to get into this playoffs, they have to win this game. So they're going to give it their all, and we'll see if they can pick up any wins.
And it should be a really intriguing Tracer battle, as we were talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
If it is SBB versus Soon, that is one of the top tier Tracer on Tracer fights that you can have.
Yes, I will be watching definitely because I am trying to get better with Tracer because, well, she's awesome and she's the mascot character, right?
Yeah, and everybody needs a good Tracer.
Yep, and I suck with Tracer, but I'm trying. Only in quick play.
So those are our games of the week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Group Up Here, our Overwatch League show. Tune in next week when we recap what happens with the playoffs. Maybe we can get a solid stream in on Sunday. Check out our Twitches at twitch.com/comradeboyer or twitch.com/jujubesgood. My name's Yvonne over there.
Twitch.tv.
Twitch.tv. My bad. I don't stream
that sounded
too
a
much.
little weird. I know why. And I'm Julien. I'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Peace out.